The river stone bit into his knuckles. Again. Again. The gold kept coming off in flakes so small
Put
they
the gun
looked like
down.
snow in the moonlight.
Now!
Not a chance, you
Elias
first.
Thorne had been
This
at
doesn't
this
have
for
to end
2
badly.
hours.
Too late
He
for
would
that.
be at it for one more. The ring finger on his
can't
right
run
hand bled
forever.
from 3 places.
I'm not running.
He didn't stop. Pain was proof
My
you were
friends,
still
we
fighting.
cannot
His
ignore this
father
any
taught him
longer.
that.
The time
Vincent
for action
Thorne
is
taught his
now.
son many
We
things,
must stand
most
together.
of them wrong.
This
The
ends
Monongahela
now.
River ran
You're
black
in no
beside
position
him.
to make
January in
demands.
Pennsylvania
My
turns
people
water
stand
into
with me.
something thicker than blood, colder than steel mill furnaces are hot. 8 months ago, Elias walked into this river during a winter storm. The current pulled him under, spun him like a drill bit, slammed him against rocks he couldn't see. He woke up 30 miles downstream in a town called Clairton with hypothermia and 3 broken fingers in his left hand. The fingers his father broke, the hand his father crushed. The night Elias said no. He filed the ring against the stone. The Thorne family crest and iron fist gripping 3 wheat sheaves disappeared groove by groove. His grandfather wore this ring. His father wore one too bigger, heavier with diamonds where Elias had simple gold. Vincent Thorne's ring left marks on men's faces, permanent ones. Elias watched his father break a dock worker's jaw once with a single backhand. The ring did most of the work. Now Elias filed his own ring down to nothing. 3 hours, Riverstone. Knuckles bleeding, the smell of his own blood mixing with the muddy earth scent of the Monongahela. Winter air so cold it burned his lungs. The distant orange glow of Pittsburgh's steel mills on the horizon, his father's empire, lighting the sky like a false dawn. No sound. They taught him not to make sounds. 8 months earlier, December 1953, the Thorne estate in Shadyside. The big house overlooking Pittsburgh's steel mills, where smoke from the furnaces turned the winter sky orange at night, where the air tasted like metal and money. Beautiful and poisonous at once. Everything in his father's world worked that way. Elias was 22 then, almost 23, old enough to know the trap closing around him, old enough to understand what his father meant when he called him an investment. The dining room sat 14. That night it sat 4. Vincent Thorne at the head, Elias to his right. 2 men Elias had never met across the table. One was Salvatore Moretti. The other was Salvatore's son Marco. Both wore black suits expensive enough to buy a car. Both had the same eyes, flat and calculating. Shark eyes. Vincent poured whiskey. $100 bottles, the kind you drink to celebrate deals. The crystal glasses caught the chandelier light, throwing rainbows across white linen tablecloths. My son, Vincent said, not to Elias. To the Morettis. 23 in 2 weeks. Educated? Loyal? Good investment. Elias stared at his plate. Veal. He hadn't touched it. The smell of it, rich buttery, turned his stomach. The arrangement benefits both families, Salvatore said. His voice sounded like gravel in a disposal rough from decades of cigars and shouting orders. Your territory, our connections to New York. The marriage seals it. Marriage. Elias looked up then. What marriage? Vincent's hand came down on the table. Not hard, controlled. The glasses jumped. The silverware rattled. Elias didn't. The marriage to Lucia Moretti, Vincent said, each word precise. Cut glass. Salvatore's daughter. The ceremony is June 14th. 6 months away. Elias looked at Marco Moretti. The son, Lucia's brother. Marco smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Nothing reached those eyes. Lucia is a good girl, Marco said, obedient. She knows her place. Her place. Elias understood what that meant. He'd heard stories about the Moretti women. 3 of Marco's previous wives, one died in childbirth at 19, one disappeared after 2 years. One jumped from a bridge in Philadelphia. The papers called it suicide. The streets called it something else. I didn't agree to this, Elias said. The room went cold, not temperature, atmosphere, the kind of cold that comes before violence. The chandelier's light seemed to dim. The air grew thick. Vincent set down his whiskey glass, slow, careful. The crystal made a sharp click against mahogany. When he spoke, his voice stayed level. That was worse than yelling. You don't agree or disagree. You're a Thorne. You do what the family requires. This marriage is required. No. 1 word, 2 letters. It might as well have been a gunshot. Marco's smile disappeared. Salvatore's jaw tightened. Vincent's eyes went dead calm. Vincent stood, 6 feet tall, shoulders like a furnace door. At 55, he could still break a man in half. He'd done it twice that Elias knew about. Both men disappeared after. One they found in the Allegheny River 3 months later. The other they never found at all. Excuse us, Vincent said to the Morettis. Not a request. They left. Marco's smile stayed behind like a stain. The door closed with a soft click that echoed louder than a slam. When the door closed, Vincent grabbed Elias by the shirt, lifted him from the chair. Elias was 170 pounds. His father made him feel like a child. "You don't embarrass me in front of associates," Vincent said. His breath smelled like expensive whiskey and cigars. "You don't refuse family business. You're not a person, Elias. You're an asset. Assets don't have opinions." He threw Elias against the wall. The china cabinet rattled. A plate fell, shattered. Pieces of porcelain skittered across the floor like teeth. Elias pushed himself up. "I won't marry her." Vincent's fist came faster than thought. It caught Elias in the ribs. Something cracked, a sound like dry wood snapping. Elias went down, tried to breathe, couldn't. His father's ring, that heavy gold ring with the thorn crest, had broken something inside. "You'll marry her," Vincent said, standing over him. No emotion in his voice, just fact, like stating the weather. "You'll smile. You'll say the vows. You'll do what you're told. Because if you don't, I'll make sure you understand what disobedience costs." Elias tried to stand. Vincent's shoe caught his hand, the left one, pinned it to the hardwood floor. Elias felt the wood grain pressing into his palms, smelled the lemon polish they used to keep the floors gleaming. "Do you understand me?" "Yes." Wrong answer. Vincent's heel came down. Once. Twice. 3 times. Elias heard the bones break, small sounds like dry twigs. His vision went white. The pain was ice and fire simultaneously. He didn't scream. They taught him not to scream. "Do you understand me?" "Yes, sir." Vincent lifted his foot, straightened his jacket. The thorn ring had blood on it, Elias's blood. He wiped it clean with a handkerchief. White silk. It came away red. "Good boy. Now go upstairs. Ice that hand. We'll have the doctor look at it tomorrow. Can't have you damaged for the engagement photos." Elias lay on the floor for 20 minutes after his father left. His hands swelled to twice its size. 3 fingers broken. The pinky ring finger in middle. The doctor came the next day. Set them wrong on purpose. Vincent's orders. So Elias would remember. They healed crooked. Still hurt when it rained. Still hurt now, 8 months later, as he filed the ring that represented everything his father was. That night, Elias packed a bag, 1 change of clothes, the money he'd been saving since he was 16, $800 in a coffee can, the ring his grandfather gave him. He took it not because he wanted it, but because leaving it would tell his father he was running. He walked out at 2 in the morning. December 21st, winter solstice, longest night of the year. The temperature was 12 degrees. Sleet turned to freezing rain. The Monongahela River ran half a mile from the estate. Elias walked to the bank. The storm had started an hour before. Rain turning to sleet, turning to something between the two. The kind that cuts your face, that turns the world into knives. He stood at the water's edge for a long time. The current moved fast. Black water, white foam, no bottom you could see. Jump in, you might drown. Might get swept away. Might freeze before you got wherever the river took you. Behind him, his father's house. The marriage. The Morettis. A life of being an asset. Ahead, black water and hypothermia and maybe death. Elias stepped in. The cold hit like a fist. Took his breath. Took his thoughts. The current grabbed him before he could reconsider. Pulled him under. Spun him. Slammed him against rocks he couldn't see. Water filled his mouth, his nose, his lungs. The world went dark and spinning and cold beyond cold. He didn't fight it. Let the river take him. Better to die free than live owned. He woke up in daylight. A fisherman pulled him out near Clairton, 30 miles downstream. Body temperature 89 degrees. The hospital kept him 2 days. Asked his name. He told them Ellis Stone. Asked where he was from. He said nowhere specific. They believed him, or didn't care. Small town hospital in a mill town. They saw men running from something every week. When Elias walked out of that hospital, he had a new name, no money, and 3 broken fingers, healing wrong. He also had something Vincent Thorne couldn't buy and Marco Moretti couldn't take. He had the choice of what to do next. The ring finished filing at midnight. 3 hours exactly. Elias held it up to the moon. Smooth gold band, no crest, no marking, nothing to connect him to the Thorne family of Pittsburgh. Just metal, just weight. He threw it in the Monongahela. Same river that saved him. Same river that drowned the old Elias and birthed Ellis Stone. The water swallowed it without a sound. No splash, no ripple, just gone, like he needed to be. Clairton, Pennsylvania. Population 412. One main street, one general store. One church. One steel mill that employed half the town and filled the air with the smell of molten iron and coal smoke. One tavern, called the Ember. The Ember sat at the end of Mill Street. 2 stories, brick foundation from 1887. Wood frame added in 1920. The sign out front showed a dying fire, just coals barely red hanging on. The hinges squeaked when the door opened. The floorboards creaked under heavy feet. The place smelled like old beer and wood smoke, and the sweat of men who worked the mill. Dutch Kowalski owned it, 60 years old, Polish immigrant, came over in 1919 after the war, lost his first wife to the Spanish flu, lost his son to the Second World War, Normandy 1944, age 19. Kept the Ember running because what else was there to do? Elias walked in 6 months ago looking for work. Dutch looked at him for 30 seconds. 3 questions total. You drink? No, sir. You cook? Yes, sir. You cause trouble? No, sir. You're hired. $10 a week plus room. Upstairs, second door on the right. Don't make me regret this. Elias didn't. He worked the kitchen. Dishwasher at first, then cook when the last one quit, then bartender when Dutch's back got bad. $10 became 15, 15 became 20. Room upstairs stayed free. The people of Clairton didn't ask questions. They'd all run from something. The mill workers ran from poverty. The farmers ran from failed crops in other states. The drifters ran from the law, or women, or debts. The war veterans ran from memories that woke them screaming at 3 in the morning. Nobody cared who Ellis Stone was before, only cared who he was now. And now he was the quiet kid who cooked decent soup, poured honest beers, and kept to himself. That worked fine for Elias, until the stranger walked in. Tuesday, April 20th, 1954. Noon. The lunch crowd was typical. 6 mill workers from the morning shift, their faces still gray with iron dust. 2 farmers arguing about seed prices. Dutch behind the counter doing books. Elias in the kitchen making soup. Beef and barley. Simple. The Ember's specialty. The door opened. The hinges squeaked, Dutch's warning system. Old and reliable. But something about this squeak made Elias look up. The stranger stood in the doorway. Tall, 6'2" maybe. Lean build, 170 pounds. Worn clothes but clean. A jacket that said Korean War surplus. The kind with the 7th Infantry Division patch still on the shoulder. Boots with 1,000 miles on them. A pack on his back that had seen more countries than most men see in a lifetime. But it wasn't the clothes, it was the eyes. The stranger's eyes moved across the room like a man checking fields of fire. Every exit, every window, every person. The back door to the alley. The kitchen window. The stairs. The front door. He clocked the room in 3 seconds, chose a table with his back to the wall, set his pack where he could grab it fast, and sat facing the door. Elias recognized that behavior. His father's men moved like that. Soldiers moved like that. Men who'd seen rooms where bad things happened moved like that. The stranger caught Elias looking, held the eye contact, didn't smile, didn't threaten, just looked. The way you look at a door and wonder what's behind it. Elias dropped his eyes first, turned back to the soup. His hands shook, he made them stop. They taught him not to shake. Dutch brought the stranger a menu. He waved it off. What's the food? His voice came out rough, like he didn't use it much, like talking was a skill he'd forgotten and was relearning. Beef and barley soup, Dutch said. Made fresh, or there's sandwiches. The soup, everything else kill you. Probably. His mouth moved. Not a smile, just the memory of one from a long time ago. The ghost of something that used to be there. Soup then, and beer. Dutch brought the beer first. The stranger drank half in one pull, set it down, looked at Elias through the kitchen window. Really looked. Elias felt it like pressure, like weight. He kept his hands busy, stirred the soup, didn't meet the stranger's eyes, but he felt them, measuring, calculating, reading. When Dutch brought the soup, the stranger ate slowly, methodically, like a man who'd learned to eat when food was available because you never knew when it wouldn't be. He finished, paid exact change. No tip, asked about a room. Second floor, Dutch said. $3 a week, includes breakfast. I'll take it. How long? The stranger looked at his empty bowl, at the tavern, at the window facing Mill Street where the steel mill's furnaces glowed orange even in daylight. Don't know yet, depends. On what? On the soup. Dutch almost smiled. First door on the left, I'm Dutch. The stranger stood, extended his hand. Garrett Mercer. They shook. Garrett grabbed his pack, climbed the stairs, didn't look back. But Elias felt those eyes, still measuring, still calculating, still wondering what was behind the door. That night, Elias checked the locks, all of them, 3 times each: front door, back door, kitchen window, his room upstairs. Old habit, dangerous habit, but alive was better than careless. He counted the exits. The Ember had 4: front door to Mill Street, back door to the alley, kitchen window that opened wide enough to squeeze through, his bedroom window that dropped 10 feet to the roof of Hayes General Store next door. 4 ways out. He'd memorized them the first day. He also memorized distances. 15 steps from the bar to the front door, 22 from the kitchen to the back, 8 from his bed to the window. Numbers mattered. In an emergency, numbers were the difference between gone and caught. His father taught him that too: how to read a room, how to count exits, how to never sit with your back to a door. Vincent Thorne's lessons stuck whether Elias wanted them or not. He lay in bed, listened. The Ember made its nighttime sounds: wood settling, pipes creaking, the wind off the Monongahela rattling the windows, the distant clang of the steel mill, 24 hours never stopping the heartbeat of Clairton. Then he heard new sounds: footsteps in the hall. Not Dutch. Dutch walked heavy, favoring his bad hip. These steps were careful, deliberate, military. They stopped outside Elias's door. Elias's hand found the knife under his pillow. 6 inches, fixed blade. Dutch gave it to him after a drunk got aggressive 2 months back. Said every man working a bar should have steel within reach. The footsteps moved on. To the first door on the left. Garrett Mercer's room. Elias heard the door open. Close. Then nothing. He waited, counted to 300. When no other sounds came, he got up, moved to his door, opened it an inch. The hallway was dark, but light showed under Garrett's door. Not much. A candle, maybe. Elias's eyes adjusted. He saw Garrett's boots by the door. Not inside. Outside. Placed for easy access. He saw the shadow under the door shift. Garrett moving inside. Pacing, maybe. Or working. Then Elias noticed something else. The chair from the hallway was missing. He heard scraping. The sound of wood against wood. Garrett had wedged the chair under his doorknob. A man who wedges furniture under doors isn't tired. He's hunted. Elias knew. He did the same thing every night. Chair under his own door, knife under his pillow, boots within reach, 4 exits memorized. They taught him to sleep like prey, because in his father's world, everyone was either predator or prey. Assets didn't get a choice. But looking at Garrett Mercer's careful preparations, Elias wondered something. What was a man like that running from? What did a soldier who'd survived Korea fear enough to wedge chairs under doors in a nowhere town like Clairton? And more importantly, why did he stop here? Elias closed his door, put the chair back under his knob, lay down with the knife close. Sleep came late, dreams came worse. In them, Vincent Thorne stood in the doorway of the Ember. That heavy gold ring catching light, that flat voice saying what he always said: assets don't run, assets come home. Elias woke at 4 in the morning, checked the locks again, all 3 times. The chair was still wedged, the knife still close, the exits still counted. Outside, the Monongahela ran black and cold. The steel mill's furnaces glowed orange. The smell of molten iron drifted through the window, the smell of Pittsburgh, of his father's empire, reaching even here. Same river that saved him, same river that might not save him twice. Garrett Mercer stayed, not dramatically, didn't make speeches or explanations, just paid his $3 every week, ate his soup, kept to himself. But he also did things, small things. Fixed the squeaky hinge on the tavern door. Dutch didn't ask him to. Garrett just showed up one morning with tools and oil. 20 minutes later, the squeak was gone. Dutch tested it, opened and closed the door 3 times. Silent as a church. Don't know if I like it, Dutch said. Use that squeak to know when customers came. Now you'll have to look, Garrett said. Walked away before Dutch could argue. Repaired the church roof after a storm tore shingles off. Father Matthews offered to pay. Garrett refused. Said he needed something to do with his hands. Something productive. Something that fixed instead of destroyed. Helped Samuel Novak at the blacksmith shop. Pumped the bellows. Held steel while Samuel hammered. Didn't talk much. Samuel liked that. Said most men talk too much anyway. Garrett just worked. The rhythm of the hammer, the heat of the forge, the smell of hot metal and coal smoke. It was meditation. The people of Clairton made their judgment. Strangers who stayed were either blessings or threats. Garrett seemed neither. just a quiet man fixing things. Towns needed men like that. But Elias watched. He saw how Garrett always sat with his back to walls, how his eyes tracked everyone who entered the ember, how he touched his ribs sometimes like they hurt an old wound that never quite healed. He saw how Garrett drank, not to enjoy it, to forget something. 2 beers exactly, never 3, never 1, always 2, like he'd calculated the precise amount needed to blur memory without losing control. And he saw how Garrett looked at him, not suspicious, not threatening, just noticing, the way a man notices details that don't fit. The filed ring mark, the crooked fingers, the way Elias checked every room before entering, the way he measured distances, the way he never ever sat with his back to a door. 3 weeks passed. Garrett kept watching. Elias kept cooking. Neither spoke beyond necessary words. Beer. Thanks. Soup's good. Appreciated. Small exchanges. Polite. Professional. The kind that said we're sharing space but not lives. Then one evening after the last customer left, Garrett did something different. He spoke first. Elias was wiping down the bar. Dutch had gone upstairs. The ember was empty except for Garrett at his usual table. 2 beers, both empty. The smell of old beer and wood smoke hung in the air. Outside the mill's night shift whistle blew a long, mournful sound that echoed across Clairton. You check the locks 3 times every night, Garrett said. Elias froze, kept his eyes on the bar. The wood grain under his rag oak scarred old, making sure they're secure. Once is secure, 3 times is fear. Elias set down the rag, looked at Garrett, really looked. The man's face showed nothing, but his eyes showed everything. Recognition, understanding, the look of one runner seeing another. You measure exits, Garrett continued. His voice stayed level, conversational, like he was discussing weather. Count steps, sleep with a weapon close. I've watched you for 3 weeks. You're not just careful, you're running. Everyone here is running from something. True, but most people run from poverty or debt. You're running from someone. Elias's hand touched the bar. Old habit, finding something solid to hold. The wood was cool under his palm, worn smooth by decades of elbows and glasses. What makes you think that? Garrett leaned back. The chair creaked, the same creak every chair in the ember made a sound Elias had memorized. Because I recognized the pattern. I've been running for 3 years. You get good at spotting other runners. The way they move, the way they watch doors, the way they sleep light, the way they're always calculating, can I make it to the exit before whoever's coming gets here? What are you running from? 557 names. The number hung in the air. Specific. Too specific to be random. Too large to be anything but catastrophic. 557 what? Elias asked. Men, boys really. 18 to 25, most of them. Chosin Reservoir, North Korea, November 1950. Elias knew the battle. Everyone knew Chosin. The Marines' retreat through hell. 10,000 Chinese soldiers for every 100 Americans. Temperatures 40 below zero. Men froze to death mid-step. Corpses stood upright, frozen solid where they fell. You were there. I led them there. Garrett's voice didn't change. Flat, factual, the tone of a man reciting a grocery list. I was a captain, 600 men in my command. We got orders to hold a position in the valley. I knew it was wrong. The intelligence was bad. Chinese forces were triple what command thought. I should have refused the order. Should have pulled my men back. He stared at his empty beer glass, saw something in the residue, something that wasn't there. I followed orders instead. We walked into an ambush. 600 men walked in. 43 walked out. I was one of them. The others weren't so lucky. That's not your fault. You followed orders. I followed stupid orders. I knew better, and I did it anyway. So yeah, it's my fault. 557 families got telegrams because I didn't have the spine to tell a general he was wrong. Garrett looked up then, straight at Elias. His eyes were gray, the color of gunmetal, of winter skies, of things that had been tested and broken, and somehow still worked. I count them every night, all 557, their names, their ages, their hometowns, where they were from, who they left behind. I don't let myself forget. That's what I'm running from. And that's how I know you're running too, because you have the same look I see in the mirror. Elias should have ended the conversation. Should have said goodnight and gone upstairs. Should have kept the wall up. But something in Garrett's voice caught him. Not pity, not sympathy, just recognition. One runner seeing another. One broken thing recognizing another broken thing. My father, Elias said. The words came out before he could stop them. I'm running from my father. He hurt you. Not a question, observation, statement of fact. Elias held up his left hand. The fingers healed crooked. The middle finger bent at an angle bones shouldn't bend. 3 months ago, I said no to something he wanted. He broke my hand to teach me about obedience. What did he want? He wanted me to marry a woman I'd never met. For business. My father runs operations in Pittsburgh. Docks, mills, unions. This marriage would expand his territory. I'm the payment, the seal on the contract. And you said no. I said no, so he broke my hand. Told me I'm not a person. I'm an asset. Assets don't have opinions. Garrett was quiet for a moment. Then, you filed down a ring. I saw the mark on your finger. Family ring. Elias nodded. Had our crest on it. I spent 3 hours with a riverstone grinding it smooth. Threw it in the Monongahela 2 months ago. That's why you're not just running, you're erasing. Trying to. How much is he offering? The question caught Elias off guard. What? Your father. Men like that always put a price on things. How much is the bounty? Elias hadn't thought of it that way, but Garrett was right. Vincent Thorne didn't do anything without calculating value. A runaway son who broke a business deal. That had a price. Everything had a price in Vincent's world. I don't know, but knowing him enough to make it worth someone's while. Garrett stood, walked to the bar, set his empty glass down. The clink of glass on wood echoed in the empty room. Then you should know something. If they come when they come, you won't be alone. You don't owe me anything. No, but I owe 557 men something. I couldn't stand with them. I can stand with you. Why you don't know me? Garrett's hand touched his ribs. The place that hurt, the old wound. Because 3 years ago, a field medic named Marin was treating wounded after Chosin. Enemy soldiers found her in a field hospital we'd set up in a burned-out building. She needed help. 30 seconds of help. I was 200 yards away. I saw it happening. His voice dropped. Quieter. Like he was telling you the secret. Like he'd never said this out loud before. I didn't move. I was too busy counting casualties. Figuring out how to report the disaster. How to explain to command that I'd lost 557 men. She died in the time it would have taken me to run 200 yards. I think about that distance every day. How close help was. How far away it might as well have been. He looked at Elias. You remind me of that distance. Someone who needs someone to stand up. I didn't run the 200 yards for Marin, but I'm here now. I'm not walking past it again. Elias wanted to say something. Thank you felt too small. The words hung unspoken between them. Garrett grabbed his glass, turned to go upstairs, stopped at the bottom step. Ellis Stone, he said, using Elias's false name. That's a good name, but it's temporary. Eventually your real name catches up. They always do. When it does, you'll need to decide, do you kneel or do you stand? I'm not kneeling. Good, then we'll stand together. He went upstairs. The floor creaked, 8th step from the bottom always. His door opened, closed. The chair scraped as he wedged it under the knob. Elias stood at the bar for a long time. Outside Mill Street was dark. The steel mill's furnaces glowed orange on the horizon like watching eyes. The Monongahela ran black beneath the moon. The smell of the river drifted through the window mud and cold water and industrial runoff. Same river that saved him, same river that brought him here. Same river that might have brought Garrett Mercer to Clairton for a reason. Elias checked the locks. 3 times. Put the chair under his door, knife under his pillow, boots within reach. But for the first time in 8 months, he didn't count the exits. He didn't need to. Because for the first time since leaving Pittsburgh, Elias Thorne wasn't alone. Someone knew, someone understood, someone would stand. And that changed everything. The black Cadillacs came on a Tuesday. 3 of them. 1948 models. Chrome bright even under gray Pennsylvania skies. They rolled down Mill Street at 30 miles an hour. Not fast, not slow. The speed of men who owned the road and knew it. Elias saw them from the kitchen window. The knife he'd been using to cut vegetables clattered to the floor. His hands shook. He made them stop. But they wouldn't, because he recognized those cars. His father's fleet. Vincent Thorne owned 20 identical Cadillacs, black, chrome, expensive. Intimidating. He rotated which ones his men drove so witnesses could never be sure which car they'd seen. Smart. Professional. Terrifying. The vehicles stopped in front of the Ember. Engines idled, perfectly tuned, the sound of money. Doors open. 20 men stepped out. They wore suits, dark gray or black, fedoras, polished shoes that clicked on asphalt. Every one of them moved like Garrett Mercer, scanning surroundings, checking angles, hands near pockets where guns lived. Elias recognized some faces. Tommy Vickers, Anthony D'Angelo, both enforcers from his father's crew. The others were new, or maybe not new, maybe just faces he'd tried to forget. But one face he couldn't forget stood at the center of the group. Carlo Rizzo, 6 feet 8 inches, 280 pounds, 38 years old, hands like sledgehammers. A scar running from his left ear to his jaw, courtesy of a Detroit crew that tried to muscle in on Pittsburgh docks in 1949. Carlo buried 3 of them in the Monongahela. The 4th one ran. Still running last, Elias heard. Carlo wore a black suit tailored to accommodate his size. No hat, his hair was slicked back. A single silver ring on his right hand, not family crest, but a skull. Vincent gave those rings to his most trusted men, the true believers. Elias had watched his father present Carlo with that ring when Elias was 14. The same night Carlo saved Elias's life. Same man who swore he'd kill Elias if he ever ran again. Elias's legs gave out. He grabbed the counter, held on. Dutch appeared in the kitchen doorway. "Ellis, you good?" The question, "You good?" echoed in Elias's head. He wanted to laugh, wanted to scream. Instead, he just shook his head. He wasn't good. He was caught. Dutch looked through the window, saw the cars. The men, Carlo Rizzo's massive frame blocking the sunlight. "Who are they?" "They're here for me." Garrett appeared. He took one look at Elias, then at the window, saw the cars, the men, Carlo. His expression didn't change, but his posture did. Subtle, military, ready. "The big one," Garrett said, calm, like he was commenting on weather. "You know him?" Elias managed a nod. "He's the one looking for you." Another nod. Garrett moved to the window. Assessed the situation with military precision. 20 men, 3 cars, blocking the front exit. I see 2 with visible weapons, probably all armed. They're not trying to hide. This is a statement. "His name is Carlo Rizzo," Elias whispered. "He works for my father. Has for 20 years. Enforcer too. Worse, true believer. My father says jump, Carlo builds the ladder." Garrett glanced at Elias. "But you know him. Personal history." "When I was 14, I tried to run. First time. Made it to the bus station. Carlo found me, dragged me back. My father beat me unconscious. Carlo held me down while he did it." Elias's voice cracked. The memory sharp. His father's fists, the floor. Blood. Carlo's hands on his shoulders pinning him. "After when my father left, Carlo picked me up, cleaned the blood off my face, told me, 'Next time you run, I'll find you. And next time your father won't stop it unconscious. I like you, kid. Don't make me kill you.'" Outside, Carlo moved toward the Ember's entrance. The other 19 men fanned out, surrounding the building, blocking exits, all 4 of them. Garrett's hand touched Elias's shoulder. Firm, steady. "Upstairs. Now, lock your door. Stay quiet. They'll search. Not if I convince them you're not worth the trouble. Go." Elias wanted to argue, but his body was already moving. Muscle memory, the same terror that made him jump in the Monongahela now made him run for the stairs. He reached his room, locked the door, wedged the chair, sat on the bed with the knife in his hand and started counting his heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. The rhythm trying to steady, trying to slow, failing. Below the Ember's door opened. Carlo Rizzo had come to take him home, and this time Elias had nowhere left to run. Carlo Rizzo didn't enter the Ember like other men. He entered like weather, inevitable, unstoppable, changing the air before his body crossed the threshold. The tavern went silent. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Even Dutch's pencil froze on his ledger. The smell of beer and soup and wood smoke seemed to fade, replaced by something electric. Fear. Recognition. Danger. 20 patrons watched Carlo duck through the doorway. The frame was 6'6". Carlo was 6'8". His shoulders scraped both sides. When he straightened, the floorboards groaned under 280 pounds. He didn't look around. Didn't need to. Men like Carlo owned every room they entered. They knew it. Everyone else knew it. Looking around implied uncertainty. Carlo Rizzo had no uncertainties. He walked straight to Garrett Mercer's table. His footsteps measured heavy, echoed like drum beats. Garrett sat with his back to the wall, 2 empty beer glasses. A plate scraped clean. He didn't stand, didn't move. Just watched Carlo approach with the flat calm of a man who'd faced worse things than mobsters in Korean mountains. Carlo stopped 3 feet from the table, close enough to intimidate, far enough to avoid immediate violence. Professional distance. "You're new," Carlos said, voice like gravel in a cement mixer. Deep, rough, the sound of Pittsburgh steel mills and broken bones. "What's your name?" "Garrett Mercer." "You've been here long." "Garrett Mercer." "Month and change." "You like it here." "Soup's good." Carlos' mouth moved. Not a smile, something colder. "Soup. Yeah, soup's important. You know who makes the soup?" "Garrett Mercer." "The kid in the kitchen." "That kid have a name." "Ellis." "Ellis what?" "Stone. Ellis Stone." Carlo nodded slow, like a teacher whose student almost got the answer right. "See, that's funny, because I'm looking for someone. Young guy, early 20s, about 5'11", 170 pounds, works in kitchens, keeps to himself, answers to a different name." A lot of young guys fit that description. True, but this one's got 3 crooked fingers on his left hand, healed wrong, and a mark on his right ring finger where he filed down a family ring. Real thorough job, must have taken hours, but you can still see it if you look close. Garrett's expression didn't change. "Can't help you." "No? Because I think you can. I think the kid making soup in that kitchen is exactly who I'm looking for. I think you know it, and I think you're deciding right now whether lying to me is worth what comes next. I think you should leave." Carlo laughed, actually laughed, a sound like rocks tumbling down a mine shaft. "Leave. This stranger been here a month, telling me to leave. You got stones, Garrett Mercer. I respect that, but respect don't change facts." He leaned down, hands on the table. The skull ring gleamed dull silver, the scar on his face, that Detroit scar, pulled tight when he spoke. "The kid upstairs is Elias Thorne, son of Vincent Thorne, Pittsburgh. The family wants him back. There's $50,000 on his head. Alive. I'm the man who collects. Now you can make this easy, or you can make it hard. Easy means you walk outside, have a smoke, come back in 20 minutes, and the kid's gone. 50,000 gets split 20 ways, you get none of it, but you keep breathing. Hard means you stay, you fight, you lose, and you still keep none of the 50,000 because you're dead." Garrett picked up his empty beer glass, turned it slowly. The light caught the residue, amber, thin ghost of what was there. "Let me tell you a story. November 1950, Chosin Reservoir. I had 600 men, good men, young, believed in me. I led them into a valley because a general told me to. Intelligence said light resistance. I knew better. Went anyway." He set the glass down. The soft clink echoed. 600 walked in, 43 walked out. I count the dead every night. 557 names, ages, hometowns. I don't let myself forget what happens when you follow bad orders." Carlo straightened. "Hell of a story. What's it got to do with my business?" "Your business is following Vincent Thorne's orders, taking his son back. Doesn't matter if the son wants to go. Doesn't matter if it's right. Just matters that the boss said so. That sound familiar to you?" "Sounds like you're stalling. Sounds like I'm telling you I'm done following bad orders. The kid doesn't want to go. That makes your order bad, and I'm not moving." Carlo's hand went inside his jacket, came out with a Colt 45, set it on the table. Casual, like a man setting down car keys. The gun gleamed, cleaned, oiled, ready. "This changes your thinking." "No." "You willing to die for some kid you met a month ago?" "Already died for 600. I trained for 6 months. One more doesn't seem like much." The tavern stayed frozen. 20 people barely breathing. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked. Outside, a car passed. Normal sounds in an abnormal moment. Carlo looked at Garrett for a long time, measuring, calculating, the way Vincent Thorne had taught him to measure everything. Value, risk, cost. Finally, he picked up the Colt, put it back inside his jacket. "You got heart, stupid heart, but heart. Tell you what, I'm a patient man. Vincent wants the kid back, but he wants him whole. No damage. So I'm going to give you a gift. 72 hours, 3 days. You talk sense into Elias Thorne. You convince him to come home, voluntary. He walks out, gets in the car, no problem. Everybody's happy. And if he doesn't, then Vincent himself comes to Clairton with more than 20 men. And when Vincent Thorne comes for family business, people get hurt. You, the kid, Dutch behind that bar, every person in this room. Vincent don't care about collateral. He cares about assets returning home." Carlo leaned close. His breath smelled like cigars and coffee. 3 days, Garrett Mercer. Then this place becomes what Chosen was. Except this time you'll see it coming. This time you'll know it's your fault. Think about those 557 names when you're counting the corpses in this tavern. He turned, walked to the door, stopped, looked up at the ceiling, at the rooms above, at where he knew Elias was hiding. Oh, and Elias, I know you're listening. Upstairs, second door on the right. I checked the building plans before I came. You always were a smart kid, smart enough to know when you're beat. 3 days. Come home. Save these people. It's what your father would want. The door closed behind him. The Cadillac started, drove away slow, the same 30 miles an hour, the speed of men who didn't rush because they didn't have to. The tavern exhaled. 20 people started breathing again. Someone dropped a fork. The clatter was deafening in the silence. Garrett looked at the ceiling. You can come down now. Elias descended the stairs like a man walking to his execution. Each step took effort. His legs shook. The knife was still in his hand. He'd gripped it so hard his palm bled where the handle dug in. The tavern patrons stared. Every single one. They'd heard Carlo, heard the name Elias Thorne, heard the $50,000, heard Vincent Thorne, Pittsburgh, Mafia. The quiet kitchen kid who made soup wasn't who they thought. Elias reached the bottom step, looked at Garrett. You shouldn't have done that. Probably not. He'll kill you. Probably will. I'm not worth dying for. Garrett stood, walked to the bar, poured himself a whiskey, Dutch's good bottle, $100 stuff, Kentucky bourbon that smelled like oak and smoke. He drank it in one swallow. I counted 557 men I let die. I'm not adding you to that count. End of discussion. 3 days, he said, 3 days. Then my father comes. I heard. You don't understand. Carlo is bad. My father is worse. Carlo breaks bones. My father breaks cities. If he comes here with his crew, this town doesn't survive. Dutch came down the stairs. He'd heard everything. Stood next to Garrett. Looked at Elias. This true, your name's Elias Thorne. Yes, sir. Vincent Thorne's your father. Yes, sir. The Vincent Thorne, the one who runs Pittsburgh. Yes, sir. Dutch nodded slow. Poured himself a whiskey. Not the good stuff. The working man's whiskey. The cheap bottle. Drank it. Poured another. You've been working here 6 months. Quiet, polite, good cook, never caused problems. Why didn't you tell me? Because if I told you, you'd have thrown me out. Men like my father destroy everything near them. I didn't want to destroy this place. But you stayed anyway. I had nowhere else to go. Dutch drank the second whiskey, set the glass down. $50,000. That's more money than this town sees in 5 years. People heard that number. Some of them are thinking about it right now. Thinking how 50,000 could change their lives. Pay off debts, buy land, send kids to college. Elias looked at the patrons, saw it in their eyes, the calculation, risk versus reward, $50,000 versus the life of a stranger. I know, that's why I'm leaving, tonight. I'll go south, west, somewhere far. Carlo will follow, my father will follow. The town goes back to normal. That's one option. It's the only option that doesn't get people killed. Garrett set his empty glass down. It's not the only option. What else is there? We stand. The words hung in the air like smoke, like gunpowder, like something that couldn't be unsaid. Stand, Elias laughed, bitter. Against what, my father? His crew, you saw 20 men today. Vincent can bring 200. This is Clairton. 400 people. Half of them are farmers. You want them to fight the Pittsburgh Mafia. No, I want them to choose. That's different. Choose what? Whether they're the kind of town that hands over a kid to save themselves, or the kind that stands up. Dutch refilled his glass. Standing up gets people killed. So does kneeling, just slower. A woman's voice from across the room. My son died in France. Everyone turned. Miriam Hayes, 62 years old, owner of Hayes General Store. Gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, hands weathered from decades of stocking shelves and counting change. She stood from her table. 1944, Normandy. He was 19. They sent me a letter. Said he died standing up to fascists. Said he could have surrendered, could have run, chose to fight instead. I didn't raise a coward. She looked at Elias. Her eyes were hard, blue, Pennsylvania steel. This Vincent Thorne, he sounds like a fascist to me. Thinks he owns people. Thinks his son's property. Thinks he can roll into our town with threats and take what he wants. My son died standing up to men like that. I'll be damned if I kneel to one now. Miriam, Dutch started. Don't you Miriam me, Dutch Kowalski. We came to this country for freedom. I run my store because it's mine. Nobody tells me what to do with what's mine. This boy worked for you 6 months, honest work. Paid his dues. That makes him ours too. And I'll be damned if some Pittsburgh thug takes what's ours. Silence. Then Samuel Novak stood. The blacksmith, 50 years old, arms like tree trunks from working the forge, hands scarred from hot metal and hammer strikes. I agree with Miriam. We vote. Town meeting. Let everyone decide. Democratic, American, the way it should be. Dutch looked at Elias. You okay with that? Letting the town vote on your future? No, but I don't have a better idea. Then we vote. Tomorrow. Church, noon. Everyone shows up. Everyone gets a say. Not everyone came. The church sat 200. 143 showed up. The rest stayed home. Some afraid, some calculating, some just didn't care about a stranger's problems. Mayor Owen Haskell stood at the pulpit, 60 years old, grain merchant who became mayor because nobody else wanted the job. He'd run unopposed 3 times, said all he wanted was to keep Clairton peaceful and profitable. This meeting threatened both. Haskell banged the gavel, an old piece of oak worn smooth from decades of use. Folks, let's get started. You all know why we're here. Yesterday, representatives from Pittsburgh came to town looking for Ellis Stone. Real name Elias Thorne, son of Vincent Thorne. The Pittsburgh organization, there's a bounty, $50,000, and a threat. 3 days to hand him over or Vincent Thorne comes himself, with violence. The crowd murmured, voices overlapping, fear, calculation, anger. Haskell banged the gavel again. We're here to vote. Simple question. Do we protect Elias Thorne and risk conflict, or do we ask him to leave and avoid the trouble majority decides? Henry Kovar stood, farmer, owned 200 acres north of Torreon, 3 kids, wife, mortgage. His face was weathered from sun and wind, hands calloused from work. I got a question first. This Vincent Thorne, how dangerous is he? Garrett answered, standing at the side of the church, arms crossed, voice steady. Vincent Thorne runs Pittsburgh's docks, mills, and half the unions. He's got 200 men on payroll, controls the flow of steel, coal, and goods through western Pennsylvania, politicians in his pocket. Police, too. He's not a street thug. He's an empire. And we're supposed to fight an empire. We're supposed to decide if we're the kind of town that hands people over to empires. Your call. Kovar sat down, looked sick. His wife touched his arm. He didn't respond. Miriam stood. I say we protect him. This boy worked here 6 months. Good worker. Polite. Didn't cause trouble until trouble found him. That's not his fault. His father's the problem. We gonna punish the kid for his father's sins. Easy for you to say, a voice called. Jacob Reed, owned the hardware store. Your store's in town center, protected. My place is on the North Road. Ushidin, first building they see coming in. If Vincent Thorne brings violence, my store burns first. My family lives above it. So we sacrifice Elias to protect your store. I'm protecting my children. The argument erupted. Voices overlapping, accusations flying. The church echoed with it. Haskell banged the gavel 6 times before they quieted. Enough one at a time. You want to speak, you stand. Everyone else shuts up. Samuel Novak stood. I'm with Miriam. We protect him. Not because I know Elias well, but because of what it means if we don't. Vincent Thorne learns we cave to threats. What stops him from coming back? Next year, he demands free supplies. Year after free labor. Year after he owns us. You give a bully an inch, he takes everything. Or we give him his son and he leaves us alone, Kovar said. He's not here to take over Clairton. He's here for family business. We're not part of that business unless we make ourselves part of it. Dutch stood. Elias came to me 6 months ago looking for work. 3 questions I asked. Does he drink, cook, cause trouble? He said no, yes, no. I hired him. He's been exactly what he said. Worked hard, kept clean, didn't cause trouble. Trouble found him. You want to throw a good man to wolves because his father's a wolf. That sit right with anyone? Silence. Then Elias stood. The church went quiet. All eyes on him. He walked to the front, stood next to Haskell. His hands shook. He shoved them in his pockets. The wooden floor creaked under his feet. The smell of old wood and candle wax surrounded him. My name is Elias Thorne, not Ellis Stone. I lied about that. I lied because my father is Vincent Thorne. Most of you have heard the name. Some of you know what it means. He runs Pittsburgh, controls it. I'm his son, his only child. He raised me to take over, taught me the business, the violence, the control, everything. Elias's voice caught. He forced it steady, looked at the faces watching him. Judgment, fear, curiosity, pity. When I was 22, he arranged a marriage. Lucia Moretti, daughter of a crime family. The marriage was an alliance, territory expansion. I was the contract, the signature. I said no. He broke my hand to teach me about obedience. He held up his left hand, the crooked fingers, 3 of them bent wrong. I ran that night, walked into the Monongahela River in December. I wanted to die, but the current carried me here instead. Dutch gave me a job, a room, a chance. I've been hiding for 8 months. I thought I got away. I was wrong. He looked at the crowd, met their eyes, saw Henry Kovar's fear, Jacob Reed's calculation, Miriam's anger, Samuel's determination. Mr. Kovar's right. I'm the problem. If I leave, the threat leaves. Your families are safe. Your stores survive. Life goes back to normal. That's the smart choice, the safe choice. I don't blame anyone for wanting that. He paused. But Mrs. Hayes is also right. If you hand me over, Vincent learns that Clairton kneels. And once you kneel, you keep kneeling. That's how men like my father work. They take everything they can until someone stands up. Elias stepped closer to the crowd. I'm not asking you to fight for me. I'm not worth it. But I'm asking you to think about what you're fighting for if you don't hand me over. You're fighting for the right to say no, the right to decide who belongs in your town, the right to tell an empire it doesn't own you. He looked at Jacob Reed. Your store burns if Vincent comes mine too. I've got more to lose than anyone, but I'm willing to lose it standing up instead of living on my knees. That's the only choice I can make. That's mine. That's all I've ever wanted, to make my own choice. He turned to leave, stopped. One more thing. My father taught me a lot. Most of it was wrong, but one thing was true. In his world, there's only predators and prey, assets and owners. If you hand me over, you're telling him you're prey, you're telling him you're assets. And men like Vincent Thorne never stop collecting assets. He sat down. The church stayed silent for a full minute. The clock ticked. Outside, a dog barked. Normal sounds, normal world. But nothing felt normal. Then Mayor Haskell stood. We vote. Show of hands. All in favor of asking Elias to leave, raise your hand. Hands went up. Elias counted. Kovar, Reed, the tanner whose business depended on Pittsburgh buyers, the doctor who bought medical supplies from Thorne-controlled distributors, families on the North Road closest to danger. 22 hands. All in favor of Elias staying, of protecting him if Vincent Thorne comes. Raise your hand. More hands. Dutch, Miriam, Samuel, the miners who'd been pushed around by bosses their whole lives, the veterans who'd seen fascism in Europe, the immigrants who came here for freedom. 27 hands, 5 votes. Elias's fate decided by 5 hands, 5 people who chose courage over safety. Haskell banged the gavel. Motion carries, 27-22. Elias Thorne stays. Town protects him. He looked at Elias. But son, if this goes bad, if people die, that blood's on all of us. You understand? Yes, sir. Then we got 2 days to get ready. The preparations started immediately. Samuel Novak opened his forge early the next morning. The sound of his hammer rang through Clairton metal on metal, the rhythm of creation. Started making weapons. Not guns, those would bring federal attention. But blades, hammers, tools that could double as weapons if needed. That evening, he presented Elias with a knife. 8 inches, fixed blade, perfect balance. The handle wrapped in leather from his own shop. For the kid who doesn't cause trouble, Samuel said. Might need it if trouble comes anyway. The knife felt right in Elias's hand, weight distributed properly, edge sharp enough to shave with. He looked at Samuel. Thank you. Don't thank me, just stay alive. I don't make things for dead people. The miners volunteered to watch the roads, set up shifts, North Road South, Road East and West. 4 men per shift, 6-hour rotations. If Vincent's crew came early, the town would know. Miriam organized the women, evacuation plans. If shooting started, where children would go, which houses were safest, which had root cellars, which had multiple exits. She made maps, distributed them, drilled the mothers on what to do if they heard gunfire. Father Matthews opened the church basement. Stone foundation, thick walls, could hold 50 people if necessary. Women and children first if violence came. Garrett drilled the men. Not military training, they didn't have time. Just basics. How to hold a weapon. How to move. How to not shoot yourself or your neighbor. 20 men showed up the first day. Farmers, shopkeepers, a teacher, the librarian, none of them fighters, but all of them willing. Most of you have never been in a fight, Garrett said, standing in front of them in a field outside town. The smell of grass and earth and distant steel mill smoke. That's okay. I'm not trying to make you soldiers. I'm trying to make you dangerous enough that Vincent Thorne thinks twice. That's all we need. Make it expensive, make it costly, make him decide it's not worth it. He showed them how to hold a rifle without dropping it, how to aim without closing both eyes, how to reload without fumbling. Basic, simple, survival. Dutch reinforced the ember, boarded the windows on the ground floor, barred the doors with steel rods Samuel made, set up escape routes. If Vincent's crew came to the tavern first, they wouldn't get in easy. And if they did, there were ways out. And through it all, Henry Kovar sat alone. The farmer who voted no, who wanted Elias gone, who had 3 kids and a mortgage and couldn't afford to be brave. But every evening, Kovar showed up at the ember, didn't speak, just sat in the corner, drank 1 beer, left. On the second night, Garrett sat next to him. You voted against this. I did. Why are you here? Kovar stared at his beer, the foam settling, the amber liquid catching light. Because I'm a coward, and I'm tired of it. Wanting to protect your family isn't cowardice. Maybe not, but letting fear make all my choices is. I voted to throw Elias out because I was scared. I'm still scared, but watching everyone else prepare to stand up made me realize something. My kids are watching. They're going to remember this. They're going to remember if their father was the man who hid while his neighbors fought, or if he was the man who stood with them even though he was terrified. He finished his beer. I'm still terrified, but I'll be here when Vincent Thorne comes. I'll stand, and maybe my kids will remember that instead of the coward who voted no. Garrett clasped his shoulder. Being scared and standing anyway, that's not cowardice, that's courage. We'll see. It came at midnight on the second day, one day before Vincent's deadline. Elias was in his room, couldn't sleep, kept checking the window. The street below was dark. The mill's furnaces glowed orange on the horizon. The smell of iron and coal smoke drifted through the window. He heard it first, not footsteps. Breaking glass, the kitchen window, downstairs. The crash was loud in the midnight silence. Elias grabbed Samuel's knife, moved to his door, opened it an inch. Voices, low, 3 of them, moving through the ember. Find him. Boss wants him scared, not dead, just scared enough to run. Carlo's voice, unmistakable. Elias's heart hammered. He moved to the stairs, looked down. 3 men in the common room. Carlo, 2 others, Anthony D'Angelo and Tommy Vickers. All armed, pistols drawn, moving through the ember like they owned it. Garrett's door opened. He emerged dressed alert like he'd been waiting. In his hand, a .45 service pistol, military issue. Where had he gotten that? You need to leave, Garrett said. Calm, level, the voice of a man who'd given orders under fire. Carlo looked up, saw Garrett. Can't do that. We're here for Elias. You stay out of this, you live. Simple. I'm already in this, and you're leaving. Now. Anthony raised his pistol. Old man, you're outnumbered? I'm outgunned. Different thing. Then Elias moved. Didn't think. Just acted. Came down the stairs fast. Knife in hand. You want me, Carlo? Here I am. Leave him alone. Carlo turned, saw Elias. For a moment, just a flash, something crossed his face. Not anger, not satisfaction. Something else, regret, conflict, but it was gone. Smart kid, make this easy. Come with us. Talk to your father. He just wants to talk. No, he doesn't. He wants me on my knees. I'm done kneeling. Then you're done, period. Anthony moved fast, grabbed for Elias. Garrett fired. The shot was deafening in the closed space. The bullet hit the wall 6 inches from Anthony's head. Warning shot. Next one's not a warning, Garrett said. Tommy raised his gun, aimed at Garrett. Elias moved without thinking, threw the knife. It wasn't a good throw, hadn't practiced, but it was enough. The blade hit Tommy's shoulder. He screamed, dropped the gun. Carlo grabbed Elias, fast, professional, one hand on his throat, lifted him. You're coming with us. Your father wants you home. That's not optional. Elias couldn't breathe. Carlo's hand was iron, but then he heard it. You good? Garrett's voice. The question, the ritual they'd never established but somehow existed anyway. And Elias realized Garrett was asking if he wanted help or if he was handling it. Elias managed one word, choked out. No. Garrett moved, not at Carlo, at Anthony. Pistol whipped him, fast, brutal. Anthony went down. Carlo's grip loosened, distracted. Elias drove his elbow up, caught Carlo under the jaw. It was like hitting concrete. But Carlo's hand slipped. Elias dropped, gasped, rolled. Garrett had his gun on Carlo now. Let him go. Walk out. Tell Vincent the kid's not scared. Tell him we're ready. Carlo looked at Tommy bleeding from the shoulder, at Anthony unconscious on the floor, at Garrett armed and ready, at Elias standing now defiant. Something in Carlo's eyes changed. That conflict again. Stronger this time. 3 of us came tonight, Carlo said. Tomorrow Vincent comes with 50. This was mercy. Tomorrow won't be. He grabbed Tommy, dragged him toward the door. Anthony, get up. We're leaving. Anthony stirred, stood, wobbled. They left. The door closed. Silence. Then Garrett looked at Elias. You good? And this time Elias understood. The question wasn't just about physical safety. It was about will, about courage, about whether you were still standing. I'm good, Elias said, and meant it. Garrett nodded. Tomorrow Vincent comes, but tonight we prove something. We can fight, we can stand, that matters. He picked up the knife, handed it back to Elias. Keep this close, and get some sleep. Tomorrow's the real test. Elias took the knife, looked at it, Samuel's craftsmanship. The blade had blood on it now. Tommy's blood. He'd hurt someone, defended himself, fought back. For the first time in his life, when Vincent Thorne's men came, Elias didn't run. He stood. And tomorrow when his father came, he'd stand again, even if it killed him. They came at noon exactly. Vincent Thorne was many things. Brutal, calculating, merciless, but never late. Time was control. Control was power. A man who controlled time controlled everything else. 8 black Cadillacs rolled down Mill Street. Not 3 this time. 8. Slower than before. 20 miles per hour. The speed of a funeral procession. The speed of inevitability. Every engine perfectly tuned. Every chrome bumper gleaming even under gray Pennsylvania sky. The vehicles moved in formation 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 like a military convoy, which is exactly what they were. The smell of exhaust mixed with the mill's iron smoke. The sound of engines echoed off storefronts. Elias stood in the middle of Mill Street. 32 people flanked him. 15 on his left, 17 on his right. A line across the road. Human barrier between the Cadillacs and the rest of Clairton. The cars stopped 50 feet away. Doors opened in perfect synchronization. 56 men stepped out, all in dark suits, all armed. Elias could see the bulges under jackets, revolvers mostly, some Thompson submachine guns, the kind that turned men into hamburger. Carlo Rizzo emerged from the lead car, 6 feet 8 inches of scar tissue and loyalty. He saw Elias, saw the line of townspeople. His face showed nothing, but his hand moved to his jacket. Ready. His shoulder was bandaged where Elias's knife had hit last night. Then the passenger door of the center Cadillac opened. Vincent Thorne stepped out, 55 years old, 6 feet exactly. Broad shoulders that hadn't softened with age. Silver-streaked black hair combed straight back. A suit that cost more than most Clairton families earned in a year. The thorn ring on his right hand, heavy gold family crest knuckles that had broken faces and futures. He looked at Elias across 50 feet of asphalt. Father and son, 8 months since the last time. 8 months since broken fingers in the Monongahela River. Vincent's face showed nothing. No anger, no surprise, no emotion whatsoever. Just the flat calm of a man who'd built an empire by never letting anyone see what he felt. He walked forward, slow, measured, each step deliberate, the click of expensive shoes on asphalt. Carlo stayed 2 paces behind and left. The other 55 men fanned out. Not aggressive, not yet, just positioning, creating angles, cutting exits. Professional, efficient, terrifying. Vincent stopped 20 feet from Elias, close enough to see his face, far enough to avoid immediate violence. The space between them felt like a minefield. Elias, one word, his name, spoken like a fact, like gravity or death, something undeniable. Elias's mouth was dry, his hands shook. He made them stop. They taught him not to shake. My name is Ellis Stone. Your name is what I say it is. Come closer. It wasn't a request. Vincent Thorne didn't make requests. He gave orders, expected obedience. Always got it. Until now, Elias didn't move. I'm close enough. Something flickered in Vincent's eyes. Not anger, calculation, adjusting to new data. His son, his asset, was refusing a direct command. In public, in front of witnesses. That changed the equation. Vincent's mind worked like an abacus. Fast, precise. Cost public defiance undermines authority. Benefit retrieving, asset maintains control. Variables 32 witnesses, potential violence, long-term reputation damage. 8 months, Vincent said. His voice stayed level, conversational, the same tone he used ordering dinner or ordering executions. 8 months you've been gone. Do you know what that cost me? The Moretti alliance fractured. Stone Ridge territories pulled support. My eastern operations lost 17% revenue. 17%. Because my son decided to embarrass me. I didn't decide to embarrass you. I decided not to marry Lucia Moretti. Same thing. In my world, your choices are my reputation. Your actions are my business. You don't get to separate them. Vincent looked past Elias, at the 32 people standing in formation. His eyes cataloged each one. Dutch, Miriam, Samuel, Garrett, Henry Kovar, the miners, the farmers, the shopkeepers. These people, Vincent said, they think they're protecting you. They think this is noble, standing up to the bad man from Pittsburgh. Very American, very democratic, but they don't understand what they're standing against. They think I'm just another thug, another bully who will go away if they show spine. He smiled, no warmth in it, just geometry, lips moving into the shape of a smile while his eyes stayed dead. But I'm not a thug, Elias. I'm a businessman. And business is about leverage, cost-benefit analysis, return on investment. These people standing with you, they're making a business decision. They're betting that protecting you costs less than giving you up. They're wrong, but they don't know it yet. Vincent took 2 steps closer. Carlo's hand went inside his jacket. So did 5 other men's, ready to draw if the situation turned. Here's the equation. 56 armed men, professional, experienced, against 32 farmers and shopkeepers with hunting rifles. We have superior numbers, superior weapons, superior training. If this becomes violent, I win. You know it. They know it. Everyone knows it. The only question is how many of them die before you come home. Elias felt the weight of 32 lives pressing on his shoulders. He saw Miriam's face. Dutch's. Henry Kovar's 3 kids weren't here, but they might as well be. Standing in the street, hostages to Elias's choice. So here's my offer, Vincent continued. Final offer. You come home, right now. Walk to the car. Get in. We drive away. No violence, no bloodshed. These people go back to their lives. Clairton stays peaceful. The Morettis get their alliance. Everyone gets what they need. All it costs is you doing what you should have done 8 months ago. Obey. He held out his hand. Come here, son. Come home. This ends now. Elias looked at his father's hand, the same hand that broke his fingers, the same hand that wore the thorn ring, the same hand that controlled Pittsburgh and expected to control everything else. No, Vincent's hand stayed extended. No, I'm not coming home. I'm not marrying Lucia Moretti. I'm not your asset anymore. I'm done. The hand slowly dropped. Vincent's expression didn't change. But something in the air shifted. The temperature dropped. The molecules rearranged. Everyone felt it. The moment before violence. The pause before the storm. You're done, Vincent repeated. You think you get to decide when you're done. You think running to this nowhere town makes you free. But you're not free, Elias. You're mine. You've always been mine. You'll always be mine. Blood doesn't wash off. Family doesn't disappear because you filed a ring and changed your name. He turned to the 32 people, addressed them directly. You think you're helping him? You're not. You're delaying the inevitable. Elias Thorne belongs to the Thorne family. This isn't negotiable. You're standing between a father and his son. That's not noble. That's stupid, and stupid gets people killed. Garrett stepped forward, put himself between Vincent and Elias. The kid doesn't want to go. That makes your claim invalid. Vincent looked at Garrett, really looked. The way a jeweler looks at a stone, assessing value, finding flaws. You're the veteran, the one with 557 dead. Carlo told me about you, Captain Garrett Mercer, Chosen Reservoir. You led men into an ambush, got most of them killed. Now you're trying to save one kid to make up for it. That about right? Garrett's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed level. About right. Noble, futile, but noble. Let me tell you something, Captain. I've sent men to die too, hundreds of them. Difference is, I don't count them. I don't feel guilty, because in my business, men are resources. You spend resources to gain objectives. Some resources are cheap, some are expensive. But they're all expendable. He gestured at the 32 people. These resources, very expensive. Each one has family, friends, jobs, futures. You're asking me to spend them to retrieve one asset? That's bad business. Inefficient. Unless, he paused, let the word hang. Unless the cost of not spending them is higher. And right now, Captain, the cost of my son defying me publicly is very high. It sets a precedent. If Elias can refuse me and live, what stops others from trying? What stops my organization from fracturing? What stops every asset I own from thinking they can run? Vincent's voice dropped. Quiet, more dangerous than shouting. So the equation changes. I'm willing to spend these 32 lives not to retrieve Elias, but to send a message. That defiance costs, that running costs, that refusing Vincent Thorne costs everything. Carlo moved forward. So did the other 55 men. A wave of dark suits in deadly intent. The 32 townspeople raised their weapons. Hammers, guns, 3 hunting rifles against Thompson's submachine guns. It wasn't a fight, it was a slaughter waiting to happen. Vincent raised his hand, his men stopped. But I'm not an unreasonable man. I'll give you one more chance. One final offer. Because I'm generous. Because I remember these people voted to protect you. Democracy in action. Beautiful. Doomed. But beautiful. He looked directly at Elias. On your knees. The command cut through the air like a blade. On your knees, boy. Right here. Right now, in front of everyone. You kneel. You apologize for embarrassing the family. You come home. We forget this happened. These people survive, or you stand. You refuse. And I make an example of this entire town. Every man, every woman, every child. I erase Clareton from the map. Not because I hate these people, but because defiance cannot stand. Not even once. Not even here. Elias felt his knees wanting to buckle. Not from choice, from conditioning. 23 years of programming. The Pavlovian response to his father's command voice. His body remembered kneeling, remembered the shape of submission, the safety of obedience. His knees started to bend. Then Miriam's voice cut through. Don't you dare. Elias looked at her, 62 years old, standing with a hunting rifle that probably weighed half what she did. Hands shaking but eyes hard as Pittsburgh steel. My son died so men like you couldn't tell people to kneel. He died in France, 19 years old. Stepped on a mine, holding a position against Nazis. You know what his last words were? They sent them in a letter. He said, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. That was my boy. 19 years old, and he understood something you never will. She spat, surely spat, at Vincent Thorne's feet. You want this boy to kneel. You want this town to kneel. Come make us. But we don't kneel to fascists. Not in Europe, not in Clareton, not ever. Vincent's expression didn't change, but his eyes moved to Carlo, a silent command. Carlo drew his Colt, aimed it at Miriam. Last chance, Elias. Kneel or she dies first. Elias's vision narrowed. The world reduced to 2 things. His father's face, Carlo's gun. Then Garrett moved, stepped in front of Miriam. You'll have to go through me first. Not a problem, Carlo said, but his voice wavered just slightly. Samuel Novak moved, stood next to Garrett. Through me too. Dutch joined, then the miners, then the farmers, then Henry Kovar. One by one, all 32 people moved forward, put themselves between the guns and Elias. A human wall, flesh and bone against steel and bullets. They were going to die. All of them, for him, because he wouldn't kneel. Elias looked at their faces, saw the fear, saw the determination, saw people who'd made a choice and were living with it, dying with it. He stepped through them, walked past Garrett, past Miriam, past Dutch, stood in front of the line, between the 32 and the 56, alone, facing his father. You want me to kneel, Elias said. His voice shook. He didn't care. You want submission. You want obedience. You've had it before. 23 years of it. I knelt every day of my life until December 21st. I knelt when you broke my hand. Knelt when you sold me to the Morettis. Knelt every time you told me I wasn't a person. Just an asset. Just property. He took a step closer. But then I walked into a river. And the river taught me something. When you stop fighting the current, when you stop trying to control everything, when you just let go, you find out what you're really made of. The river didn't drown me. It carried me here, to these people, to this town, to a place where I could choose. Another step. You taught me everything, Father. How to read a room, count exits, sleep with weapons close, never show weakness, never trust anyone, never believe in anything except power. And you were right about most of it. Power does matter. Control does matter. But you forgot something. He was 10 feet from Vincent now, close enough to see his father's eyes. The flat calculation, the cold assessment. You forgot that power only works if people believe in it. These 32 people, they don't believe in your power. They believe in something else. Choice, community, standing up. And that belief makes them more dangerous than your 56 guns. Because you can kill them, but you can't make them kneel. Not anymore. Not ever again. Elias stopped 5 feet away. So here's my answer. I don't kneel. Not for you, not for the Morettis, not for anyone who thinks people are proper. You want me? Come take me. But I'm standing. And they're standing with me. And if you kill us, you kill 33 people who chose freedom over fear. That's the message you'll send. Not that defiance costs, that it takes 56 armed men to kill 33 unarmed people who wouldn't submit. He spread his arms. So do it. Shoot me. Shoot them. Erase Clairton. Send your message. But know this, every person watching every town that hears this story, they'll know Vincent Thorne needed an army to kill farmers and shopkeepers. They'll know you were so weak, so terrified of one son saying no, that you murdered a town. That's your legacy. That's what people will remember. Silence. The wind moved through Mill Street. Somewhere a dog barked. The steel mill's furnaces glowed orange. The Monongahela ran black and endless. Vincent Thorne looked at his son, at the 32 people behind him, at Carlo, at his 56 men. Finally, he spoke. You think this is over? Yes. You think standing here with these people makes you free? Yes. You're wrong. You'll always be my son, always be a Thorne. The blood doesn't wash off Elias. The name doesn't disappear. Someday you'll understand that. Someday you'll come home. Not because I force you, because you'll realize there's nowhere else to go. I'm already home. Vincent's expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. Recognition. His son, his asset was gone. The boy who knelt was dead. Drowned in the Monongahela. What stood before him now was someone else. Someone Vincent didn't own. Vincent turned to Carlo. We're leaving. Carlo's gun was still aimed at Miriam. Boss, I said we're leaving. Get in the car. But now. Carlo lowered the gun, slowly, like a man being told to abandon a mission at the finish line. He looked at Elias. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes, not anger, something else, something like respect. Then it was gone. The 56 men returned to the Cadillacs, engines started. The convoy began turning around, slow, careful. The same funeral procession speed in reverse. Vincent Thorne got in the center car. But before the door closed, he looked at Elias one last time. This isn't over. It's never over. Blood is blood. You'll understand that eventually. The door closed. The Cadillacs drove away. Down Mill Street, past the church, past Hayes General Store, past the Ember, out of Clairton. Gone. The 32 people stood frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Like they were afraid breathing would break the spell, would bring the Cadillacs back. Then Henry Kovar started laughing. Hysterical. Terrified. Relieved. All at once, he dropped his hammer, sat down in the middle of the street, just sat, laughing and crying and shaking. Others joined, not laughing, just collapsing, adrenaline draining, fear releasing. The miners sat, the farmers. Samuel Novak leaned against his truck. Dutch held Miriam. She was crying, 62 years old and shaking like a child. Garrett walked to Elias, put his hand on his shoulder. You good, the question, the ritual, the thing that mattered. I'm good, Elias whispered. I'm good. His legs gave out. Garrett caught him, held him up while Elias sobbed into his shoulder. 23 years of kneeling, 8 months of running, all of it pouring out in gasps and tears. You stood, Garrett said quietly. That's all that matters. You stood. 6 months passed. Clairton returned to normal, mostly. The miners went back to the mill, the farmers to their fields, the shopkeepers to their stores. Life continued the way life does. Relentless, ordinary, beautiful in its mundaneness. But some things changed. The 32 who stood in Mill Street never forgot, couldn't forget. They'd looked at an empire and said no. That changed you, made you realize you were capable of things you didn't know. Bravery, stupidity, standing up. Henry Kovar ran for mayor. Won easily, his campaign slogan, "I vote to stand." Everyone knew what it meant. Miriam organized a town defense committee, not paranoid, just prepared. Taught people to shoot, to organize, to respond if threats came again. She said they wouldn't, but if they did, Clairton would be ready. Samuel's forge stayed busy, made tools, weapons, both. He didn't ask which people wanted, just made them good. Said a man should have the right to defend himself and his community. Garrett stopped drinking. Cold turkey. Said the ghosts were quieter now. The 557 names still got counted every night. But he added new names to a different list. Saved names. Elias, Miriam, Dutch. 32 people who didn't die because he ran 200 yards this time. The Ember expanded. Dutch built 3 more rooms upstairs. Said they might have visitors, people running from things. People who needed a place to stop. Clairton was that place now. And Elias stopped checking locks 3 times. Once was enough. Stopped counting exits. Stopped sleeping with a knife under his pillow. The knife stayed on his nightstand, close but not desperate. He became co-owner of the Ember, Dutch's partner. They shook on it. No contracts, no lawyers. Just 2 men who'd stood together, deciding to keep standing together. His hand stopped shaking. The crooked fingers still hurt when it rained, but they worked. That was enough. One evening in October, Elias was closing up when Dutch brought him an envelope. No return address, just his name. Elias Thorne, his real name, inside a single sheet of paper. Handwriting he recognized. Elias, 20 years I worked for your father. Did things I can't undo. Held you down when he broke your hand. Told you I'd kill you if you ran again. Meant it too. I found you in Clairton. Told you to come home. You said no. I drew my gun. Was ready to use it. But then I watched 32 people stand between you and us. Farmers, shopkeepers, an old woman with a hunting rifle. Not soldiers, not gangsters, just people who decided you were worth protecting. Your father left because the math didn't work. Killing 33 people to retrieve 1 asset, bad business. But I left for a different reason. I tried to go back. Twice. Got as far as the Monongahela Bridge. Turned around both times. The image of those 32 people standing kept me awake. Made me see something I'd been blind to for 20 years. I've been holding the wrong people down. Third time I tried, I kept driving. Didn't stop until I reached Ohio. Then Indiana. Then somewhere I don't even know the name of. Just drove. Same way you did. Don't know where I'm going. Just know I can't go back. You were right to run, right to stand, right to say no. I don't expect forgiveness. Don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know the distance between kneeling and standing is shorter than I thought. You showed me that. I spent 20 years being the fist that made people kneel. I'd like to spend whatever's left helping them stand, if there's a place for that. If there's a town that takes men trying to be different. If you know of one, let me know. Carlo Rizzo Elias read it twice, showed it to Garrett, then Dutch. They stood in silence. What are you going to do? Dutch asked. I don't know. Part of me hates him. Part of me understands him. He was loyal to my father. That's what he knew. Now he's trying to be something else. You think he means it? I think he's trying, same as me. That's all anyone can do. Try dying. Elias wrote back. 1 sentence. Clairton takes people trying to be different. First door on the left. 2 weeks later on a Tuesday, a man walked into the Ember. 6 feet 8 inches. 280 pounds. No suit this time. Work clothes, worn, clean. A pack on his back that had seen some miles. Carlo Rizzo stood in the doorway. Every person in the tavern went silent. The miners recognized him. So did the farmers. The man who almost killed them 6 months ago. Hands moved to pockets, to belts, to weapons kept close. Elias walked out from the kitchen. Saw Carlo. Stopped. They looked at each other across the room. Not 20 feet this time. 40. The length of the Ember's common room might as well have been a mile. Finally, Carlo spoke. His voice was different, quieter, missing the edge of violence. I need work, something that doesn't involve holding people down. Elias should have said no, should have thrown him out, should have let the miners drag him into the street. Instead, he poured a beer, walked it over, set it on the bar. We're hiring, but I've got questions first. Fair. Why here? Why not somewhere else? Because this is where I learned the difference between following orders and making choices. Figured if I'm going to learn to be something different, might as well do it where the lesson started. You expect forgiveness? No, just a chance. Same thing your father never gave you. Same thing you didn't let stop you. Elias was quiet for a long time. The work's hard, kitchen mostly, dishes, cleaning, nothing glamorous. $10 a week, room upstairs. Same deal I got. I'll take it. If you hurt anyone, if you threaten anyone, if Vincent sends you here to spy or sabotage or bring me back, he doesn't. I'm done with him, same as you. Garrett appeared from the back room. He and Carlo locked eyes. Two men who'd drawn guns on each other, who'd been seconds from killing each other. Garrett extended his hand. I count 557 dead because I followed bad orders. You count 20 years serving Vincent Thorne. Both of us got numbers we can't erase. Question is what we do with the time that's left. Carlo looked at the hand, at Garrett, at Elias. Finally, he shook. I spent 20 years making people kneel. I'd like to spend whatever's left helping them stand. Then welcome to Clairton, Garrett said. Town for people trying to be different. 1 year after Vincent Thorne left, the Ember was crowded. Tuesday evening, the usual crowd plus some new faces. Clairton had grown. Not much. 412 became 439. Small numbers. But growth. Most of the new arrivals came for the same reason. Heard about the town that said no. The place where people running could stop running. Word spread quietly, through networks of people escaping things. Abusive families. Criminal organizations. Pasts they wanted to leave behind. Clairton became sanctuary. Not officially. No signs or advertisements. Just word of mouth. The town that stood up. The place that protected people who needed protecting. Elias co-owned the Ember now. Dutch semi-retired, came in evenings, told stories, drank coffee instead of whiskey, said he'd earn the rest. Garrett managed the rooms upstairs. 15 now, always full. He screened the newcomers, asked questions, made sure they were running from something not to something. People running from crime didn't get rooms. People running from abuse did. Carlo washed dishes for a year, didn't complain. Didn't ask for more, just worked. Quiet. Efficient. The miners still watched him careful. So did the farmers. Trust came slow, but it came. When you work beside someone for a year, when you see them show up every day, when they prove they're trying, eventually you stop seeing what they were and start seeing what they're becoming. The door opened. Squeaky hinge. Dutch never fixed it. Said the squeak was useful. A young man walked in. 21, 22 maybe. Thin, scared. Eyes that moved too fast. Checking exits. Counting distances. Elias recognized the pattern. He'd moved that way 8 months into running. The young man approached the bar, sat down. His hands shook. He shoved them in his pockets. First time in Clairton, Elias asked. Yeah, I heard this was a place where people could stop running. Heard right? You running from something. Family. They want me to do things. Bad things. I said no. They didn't like that. They looking for you. Probably. I've been gone 3 weeks. Took a bus, then another, then walked. Tried to make it hard to follow. Elias poured water, slid it across. What's your name? The young man hesitated. My family calls me Anthony, but I want to choose something different. I don't know what yet. Elias smiled, recognized the feeling, the need to shed the old name, the old identity, become something new. That's okay. You've got time. Here, time's yours. What do you need right now? A room, work, a place to figure out who I am when I'm not who they want me to be. We've got all three. Room's $3 a week, work's $10 a week in the kitchen, and figuring yourself out. That's free, comes with the town. The young man's eyes teared up, relief, fear, hope, all mixed together. That's it. No questions about my family, no judgment. I'll ask questions eventually. Make sure you're running from something, not to something criminal. But right now you look like someone who needs to breathe. So breathe, you're safe here. How do you know? Elias held up his left hand, the crooked fingers. Because I ran too. From a father who thought I was property. From a life I didn't choose. I ran to Clairton and found people who stood between me and the things chasing me. Now I stand for others. That's how it works here. We take care of people trying to be free. He pointed to Garrett. That's Garrett. He'll get you set up with a room. Then to Carlo, in the kitchen, visible through the window. That's Carlo. He'll train you in the kitchen. He used to work for people like your family probably. Now he doesn't. People change here. If they want to, if they work at it. The young man looked around, saw the miners, the farmers, the shopkeepers, saw Miriam reading a newspaper, saw Dutch telling a story, saw Henry Kovar playing cards with Samuel Novak, saw community, safety, home. What's the catch? No catch, just expectation. You work, you contribute, you don't cause trouble. And if someone else comes here running, you help them the way we're helping you. You stand for the next person who needs standing for. That's the deal. That's how Clairton works. I can do that. Then welcome, you've got time to figure out your name. We'll call you whatever you want until you decide. The young man Anthony, or whatever he'd become, started crying, quietly. The kind of crying that comes from relief, from safety, from realizing the running might actually be over. Elias let him cry, poured him more water, gave him space. Garrett came over, took the young man upstairs. First door on the left, same room Garrett stayed in a year ago, the room for new arrivals, for people learning to sleep without chairs under doors. Elias wiped down the bar. The evening crowd filtered in. Conversations rose. Laughter. The ordinary sounds of a tavern on a Tuesday night. But nothing about Clairton was ordinary anymore. This was the town that said no. The place that stood up. The sanctuary for people running from empires. And Elias Thorne, once Elias Thorne, now Ellis. Stone, now something in between, was part of that. Not just a refugee anymore, but a protector, a defender, a person who'd learned the difference between kneeling and standing, and had chosen to stand. I've been in Clairton 14 months, came here running from 557 names, the men I led into Chosen Reservoir, the men who died because I followed bad orders. I still count them every night. All 557, their names, ages, hometowns, I won't let myself forget. But I count something else now too. People I helped stand Elias Thorne, refused to kneel to his father. 32 people stood with him. Vincent Thorne left. Elias chose freedom. Carlo Rizzo. Vincent's enforcer for 20 years. Watched Elias stand, walked away from the empire. Now washes dishes and doesn't hold people down anymore. Anthony, real name unknown, arrived last month, running from family, learning to choose his own name, working the kitchen, healing 7 others, various stories, various reasons for running, all found Clairton and all learning to stand. The math is simple. 557 dead because I didn't stand, 11 saved because I did. The list is growing. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the 557 taught me what happens when you follow bad orders. Maybe chosen was the lesson I needed to learn to stand for the people who came after. Maybe that's legacy, not the ghosts we carry, but the people we teach to stand. Elias asked me tonight if I still count the 557. I said yes, every night. He asked which list is longer, the dead or the saved. I told him the truth. The saved list will never be longer. 557 is too many. I'll count them until I die. But the saved list matters more, because every name on that list is a choice. A moment where I ran the 200 yards I didn't run for Marin. A moment where I stood instead of walked away. That's redemption. Not forgetting the dead, but saving the living. Captain Garrett Mercer, Clairton, Pennsylvania, October 1955. The Ember closed at midnight. Elias locked the door, checked it once. Just once, not 3 times anymore. Upstairs lights went off. Garrett in his room, Carlo in his, Anthony in his, 7 others, all sleeping without chairs wedged under doors, without knives under pillows, without counting exits, learning to sleep safe, learning to sleep free. Outside, the Monongahela ran black under moonlight. Same river that saved Elias, same river that brought him here, same river that brought others after him. The current never stopped, always moving, always carrying people downstream. Some drowned, some survived. Some found Clairton and stopped running. Elias stood on the bank, the same spot where he filed his ring 20 months ago, the same spot where he threw it in the water. He held his left hand up, the crooked fingers, the scars that never fully healed, the permanent reminder of what he ran from. Then his right hand, the ring finger, the mark where gold used to be, almost gone now, but still visible if you knew to look. 2 hands, 2 stories, what he was, what he became. The river ran on, endless, dark, beautiful, carrying the next person downstream, carrying them to Clairton, to the ember, to the town that stood up. Elias turned away from the water, walked back to the tavern, to the place that saved him, to the place he now helped save others. Behind him, the Monongahela whispered, the sound of current, of movement, of change, the sound of people learning to stand. And that sound, quiet, constant, unstoppable, echoed through Clairton, through Pennsylvania, through every town where people ran from empires and looked for places to be free. Elias Thorne was home, and home was wherever people chose to stand.